Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Attorney. In the last episode we investigated Gant's office, finding two pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident. Both of them were in his safe and both weren't used in the trial back then itself. The other one were left off with Lana confessing that she didn't kill Goodman, but was given orders by Gant to dispose of his body. So we've got two bombshells left on that one. So I think now all that's left to do is to jump into court and try and get Lana to tell the truth about Gant, and hopefully we can nail him. Enjoy, guys. February 25th, 9:47 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? Almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth? Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 77777 number ID number is, that is. English, I do speak it. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. That's right. He's the safe number for Gant's safe is 777777. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does not belong, or if that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't officially been charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. February 25th, 10 AM, District Court, Courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant? Morning, folks. How's everybody doing? Hey, G, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. That's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has been asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. Lana, what the hell are you doing, woman? What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana. You can't. Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana... Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there is no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. Oh, burn! With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I'm exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. It's all fucking going down now. Very well, the court shall grant the trial's permission. I completely skipped that one, sorry. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy, you'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness. Please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings, correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, most certainly is. Very matter of fact. Well, okay then. He sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Two years ago, I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. Squeaky chair. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honour. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well, the defence may begin its cross-examination. Right. What do we got here? Waiting in sister's office that day. Nothing will come out of that one, I don't think. Man came running in, took me hostage. We heard about that last time. Neil Marshall rescued me. Heard about that last time. Press this one. Because that's going to give us more new information, I think. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out? Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right. Just then, lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. Damn right we're going to hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw? Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? Let's ask about the picture. This picture the witness drew. I believe it was a very important meaning. Pardon me. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if you added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. Press that. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I want to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died. Yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken. But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. Guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. This scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us? The man... Right. I'm gonna have a look. I had to go right instead of left, didn't I? Remember this picture. Remember, it's on the back of the evidence sheet. That's why you should always check all of your clues, even though I'm not doing it. A picture is drawn on the back of the evidence list in magic marker. I've got a very bad feeling about this. So now we can present that on that statement. So we're going to go right this time. That's what we're going to do. That should be a lovely thing. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold. This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Turn it... Ah! What's this? Yes. What is that? Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew. Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge would have access to that list. Huh. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? 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 Oh, juicy. Order, order. But Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor. Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. Can't friggin' escape it. That thing? That thing that was dancing in the evidence room? Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. Guess he used that as scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in the court record. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. Emma's picture. This is a picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see was shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Alright. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. Know this already. Flash of lightning was so bright, I could see the shadows, yeah. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Let's have a look. I'm sure he was stabbed with a punctured heart and lung. A knife tip was in the wound. Hold on. In that picture, that knife that he's holding is blunt. And he had a knife tip in the wound, so if this was the moment before, then the knife would have had a tip on it. Aha, see? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? That would be the tip of the knife. Get that one. Yes. The tip of the knife. The knife is blunt in this picture. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Ah, what is the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. Not unless it was placed in there. That's right, but what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure before that she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. Can't deny the possibility. No. Ah. Order, order, order. Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honour, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and he was killed by Dark. It's my belief that somewhere in this story there's a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There is another one. We just saw it in a picture, in one of the pictures. If the witness is adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright, in that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. Gant team picture. I think it's a Gant team picture. Yes. Because in that, yeah, that's it. Because in that one, we've got the sword that's from the trophy that's suddenly missing now. Present. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. I'd noticed the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given his broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out his knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. His broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. True, actually. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh, hold on. But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait. I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back? I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time. I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honour. First the knife mix-up, now the blue badger. This should be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and I rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away with the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The Chief of Detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well... Stop, please! Don't pursue this any further. Lana? What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed forward toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. just then there was another flashlight, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Press that. Are you sure about this? Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger, really? I think I know. The blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defence's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright? In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike. It was the unstable jaw. Because if you tip it correctly... Oh no, where is it? Can't rotate, can I? No. Now, if you tip it correctly... There we go. You get the blue badger. So it kind of looks like a blue badger. 3 horns. Yes? I'm not barking up the wrong tree, am I? You right? I think I'm right, aren't I? Yes. Present. No, not check. Present. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jaw. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jaw. However, what if we would change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle. So you flip it around and then we can go... Oh shit. Wait. Nope. We can rotate it. Something like that. No. Not correct. This isn't right. I've got to make it look more like the badger. Damn it. Allow me to remind the defense its case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim. Damn it. I've just got to find just the right angle. Maybe you should rotate it vertically a bit more. Or horizontally. Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it. I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Right, so we are going with that one. That is true. It's that, isn't it? There we go. Second time's the charm. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. I was at the wrong angle before. No, it can't be. Order, order. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. It does, actually. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well. Please tell us. What different now that we know this witness saw this jar? The location. I'll not take me to take these in turn. I think it's all three. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I might draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Ah, the suit of armour, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. Since the man who was knocked into the armour was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall, I think Emma's accidentally killed. Emma accidentally killed him. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No. No. I can't do girly nose. I'm sorry. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Is Emma okay though? I think she fainted. What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Prosecutor even. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Miss Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe you and your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or worse, Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message Does such a message exist? I don't know what happened to me tongue there. Got a bit tongue-tied. I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind. It's in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. It's the broken pot, because there's blood on it and it looked like there was lines. I'll show you. It looks like there was lines drawn on it. So that's a letter. That looks like letters. It has to be the jar. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he just going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there was a line here drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines? Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Right, so that'll be there. Fill that in. That will be yoik. That'll be the E. And we're going from there to there, there to there. EM, and then that one goes up to there. That one goes up to there, and that one goes across there for the A. Emma! I shouldn't really sound very happy about that because Emma's a nice girl. It's a defense's attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ugh. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. God. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter, even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can you just stand there and like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial's headed, no one knows. Well, shit. That was a turn up for the books. Oh, the canny twist. Although it's not over yet. Still, I don't think Emma is the one who killed him. I think there's more. It goes deeper than this, I think. We're going to find that out next time. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have liked it, please hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe and all that jazz. And as always, I shall see you all on the flip side. Bye bye.